Hey guys, so we've talked about this before, I think, but what makes a game? Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Good mythical more. No, so what makes a game? Well, most of all, what makes a game is controls. If you can't play the game, well, then it's not really much of a game, is it? You know, difficulty is the difficulty coming because it's from the game itself, like it's programmed to be difficult, or is it because it's a platformer and you have to do stupid convoluted crap like pressing up and B to jump? Are the controls fluid? Are they clunky? Are they responsive? Are they easy to comprehend? Or do you have to sit there looking at the controller like, oh, okay. Okay, that does that. So this and that. Okay. You know, is there a game tutorial telling you how to use the controls, or it just kind of leaves you to your own devices to figure it out? So controls, if you can't play the game, really not much of a game. If you're going to have a difficult time playing the game not because of the game's difficult, but because the controller, or not the controller, but the controls themselves are just bad and unresponsive, that kind of takes that game down. Could be a great game, but if you can't play it, so controls. Most fundamental part of playing a game is being able to play it. Music, the musical score, music, whether it be in the movies or games or even music on the radio, music invokes emotions. Certain musical scores at certain times will invoke emotions from you. Certain musical score, if it's a extremely sad, depressing scene, and they've got extremely well orchestrated music, you're going to feel that emotion. You know, during like game finales, when you're at that final boss, you ever notice that the music for the most part is pretty hype? You know, it lets you know, hey, this is the final boss. Everything you've done throughout the game has culminated to this moment. Every skill you've learned, everything you've done has brought you here. And we're letting you know with this music, you've reached the end. So, and that invokes emotion. The emotion of, I'm here. I'm doing it. I've done it. I went through the game. Final boss. After this, I've completed it. It invokes emotion. So, sometimes music itself can drive a story. There are games I've played where there's basically no dialogue at all, and they just let the story, the scenes with no dialogue play out with music accompanying it, and it works. Story itself. So move from music to story. The story, which also encompasses not only the story, but its characters, the people who are in the story, because you can't really have a story without characters, right? There has to be something driving that story along. So the characters. Do you relate to said characters? Are they well written? And I'm not talking about, do they look like you? I'm not talking about that. Do you see yourself, like, morals and personality in this character? For instance, there's a great game called One Shot. I'm sure you might have seen it or heard of it. Great game. You play as a character named Nico, who is basically a cat. They're part human, part cat. So they're a furry, but you play as this character named Nico. And they're just this sweet little character, very kind. And you, from start to finish, you're with this character. And they'll turn to talk to you sometimes and ask you basic yes or no questions, not having full conversations. But at the end, yeah, at the end of the game, you need to make a choice. Neither choice is good. Neither choice is good. Let me put it this way. If you played Life is Strange, at the end of that game, you'll know exactly. It's like sacrifice one person to save everybody else, or sacrifice everybody else to save the one person. So in this game, you have to make a choice. And I've seen adults, whether men or women, of all, black, white, it didn't matter. like almost breaking down into tears because of the choice they knew they had to make. Because of this character, he was so well written. They're so well written, you connect to them. It's a little cat character, and yet you have such an emotional investment in this character. You want to see them succeed. And then, just when you think they finally succeeded, you're told, by the way, you need to make a choice. It's either they die or everyone else dies. Doesn't look like anyone. It's a cat character. And yet they were emotionally invested. Kingdom Hearts, Sora, one of the most beloved characters of all time. So much so that people were just for years wanted him in Smash Brothers because everyone loves Sora. Roxas. Kingdom Hearts 3, Roxas. You'll know exactly what scene I'm talking about, and you'll know exactly how you felt when that scene happened. Exactly. Does he look like you? No. He is a well-written character who you have become emotionally invested in. So when that moment finally happens, you hear that music, it invokes emotions. Not because he looks like you. Because he is a well-written, loved character. It has nothing to do with games, but think of like Dragon Ball Z. Mexico, they love Dragon Ball Z. People in Mexico love Dragon Ball Z. Do Goku and Vegeta look like them? No. But does it stop people in Mexico from seeing themselves and relating to Goku and Vegeta? No. So when we talk about story, I'm not talking about, or characters. I'm not talking about, are they diverse? Are they no, we don't care. A very, 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 very small minority of people actually give a shit about that, because it's been shown numerous times, time and time again, you do not need a character to look like you to be emotionally invested in them. Roxas, Sora, Nico, these characters, Nico, again, it's a tiny little kid who's a cat, and yet you feel emotionally invested in them. These characters, like in Zelda, the Link's companions. Midna, one of my favorite companions. I've got a fucking cat named Midna who's black and white because I love the character of Midna. She was probably still one of the greatest companions, not only in gaming history, but in Zelda. With her, with the moment with Zelda, and Midna, you see Midna being basically dying, her on Wolf Link's back. You're invested. You're like, is this game really gonna have our companion die right now? Really? Because you're so invested in them. Is the story good? Because the characters are part of that story. Is it good? All these make a good game. And 8 minutes, long way of talking about video game reviewers, these outlets like fucking IGN and all them, where they're not needed anymore. These game reviewers. But we have, and I brought up the article, it's time to start trusting video game reviewers. Basically, this is a guy with the source, trust me, bro. Game journalists often beat difficult games, but face criticism and abuse for their reviews. The myth that game journalists hate video games is false. They are passionate about the medium. Try to find trustworthy game critics. Look for those with similar tastes and opinions to yourself. So an echo chamber. Now, there's one here. First, it's basically like a freaking sob story. Like, I get it. Game journalists are terrible at video games. Remember the one guy playing Cuphead? Let's ignore the fact that game journalists regularly beat entire games in a far shorter time span than regular people who don't have deadlines to meet. Turn a blind eye to the fact that they don't have a single FAQs.com, or GameFAQs.com would like to join the chat. Game FAQs is a site that's pretty much normal people. They beat the game, they write a review for it, or not a review, but like walkthroughs. And There's no need for game reviewers now. YouTube, there are tons of smaller and even bigger, smaller YouTubers who can do the job of these game journalists and do it 1,000 times better. 1,000 times better. Turn a blind eye to the fact that they don't have a single guide to help them beat a difficult boss. So yeah, basically they're just a sob story right now. It's, oh, you have it so hard. And then where is it? Calling Stellar Blade's protagonist Eve boring. No, people were complaining. Certain people were complaining about, like, oh my god, she's too sexualized. No, she's not. Just because you don't like attractive women doesn't mean she's sexualized. Team Elden Ring got mad last week when a couple of reviews said that it was too difficult. Accusations flew across the Twitter sphere. The critics behind said reviews were told in no uncertain terms to get good and suffered far worse abuse as misogynistic as it was vitriolic. Misogynistic? Okay, and were these game reviewers men? Because then it's not misogynistic now, is it? Once again, you can tell just from this, just the fact that they threw out this word tells you everything you need to know about this journalist and journalism in whole, or gaming journalism as a whole in current day. Fast forward a week, and players are leveling the very same accusations at the From Software DLC. Countless mods have added easy mode to the game, one called Journalist Mode. Oh! Journalist Mode. Despite the fact that journos beat the game without needing it. I'm sure the game has, like, what, an easy, normal, and difficult setting. Journalists probably beat it on the easiest setting. Players feel bosses are unfair. They believe the system... Journalist mode. Otaku mode. Or IGN mode. Remember, too much water. It's not just an Elden Ring problem. When Callie Plog reviewed Cyberpunk 2077 for GameSpot, she was hounded by thousands of players for pointing out the game's negatives. So what are the negatives? Was it the story? Was it the actual controls of the game? She didn't like the edgy aesthetics that played. I'm sorry, edgy aesthetics. Isn't that like what the game is? The aesthetics in general, that futuristic kind of type setting that they're in. So edgy aesthetics go well with it. No meaningful part of gameplay. That's why they're aesthetics. Aesthetics have nothing to do with being, actual gameplay. It's walking by a building and the aesthetics of that building, or the aesthetics of the characters in that world. She pointed out offensive depictions of minorities. Not, oh, the game was bad, or the controls were bad, or the story was bad, but no. Offensive depictions of minorities. She called out the technical issues, obvious even on PC, so she suffered a barrage of hatred. So it's basically just... Oh, wait. So find someone with similar opinions to you. Really? While Eurogamer's reviewers found the DLC so difficult it spoiled their experience, If you notice that seems to be a thing for most game reviewers. They always say about how the game is fucking hard. They're always like, make sure you bring like 20,000 potions with you, and make sure your stats are this way before you come in, and make sure. And then you go in and not do any of that. And you're like, what the fuck are they talking about? You know, it's like one of those fucking games where it's all like reaction commands. And you just realize that they just suck at reaction commands. And they're telling you to do like, make sure you're at least 10 to 10 levels above the boss and this and that. And bring this. It's like, no. All you have to do is press a fucking button. How are you failing that badly and thinking the boss fight is hard when it's like just one button almost the entire time? That's not a me problem. That's not a game problem. That's a you problem. I myself play and review a lot of RPGs and text-heavy games because I'm a book nerd at heart. Nerd at heart. If you too like those sorts of games and welcome valid criticism of the genre, oh my god. We're honest, no. Let's see the comments. You really wrote this article? It all comes down to taste and preference. Means your argument, you are an expert, is invalid. Biggest flaw in your whole article. You failed to mention that you need to sell advertising space to the very same companies that make the games you criticize. You brought the distrust and disdain on yourselves. Cry harder, Ben. Oh, the industry definitely did this to themselves. Too much talking about social issues and things unrelated to the actual games. Exactly. Like the cyberpunk thing. Oh no, racial stereotypes. So racial stereotypes is wrong. What if they had something bashing white Christian conservative men? You'd be fucking raving about it, like, oh my god, this game is amazing. Oh my god. So maybe you shouldn't focus so much on the stuff that doesn't make the game. Talk about the game. If people, especially nowadays with how fucking expensive games are, if people are going to spend $70 fucking on a game, they want to know, is it good? Are the controls good? Is the music good? Is the story good? Are the characters well written and, relatable? No one fucking cares about, oh my god, this game has the most diverse cast this year. Oh my god, all the LGBTQ plus representation. No one fucking cares. That doesn't make the game. Guess what video games are? Despite what people want to think, video games fall under the category of entertainment. We go into video games to be entertained, not for real world bullshit. So tell us about the game. Tell us about the controls. Tell us about the music and the story, and give us a reason to care about the characters. I don't give a flying fuck about if they have a fucking pussy or a vagina between, a pussy or a fucking dick between their legs. I don't care about their skin color. I don't care about how they identify. Are they relatable? Because you don't need to look like a character, or the character doesn't need to look like you for you to relate to them. Again, Nico, Sora, and Roxas. You don't need to relate, actually see yourself as these characters. Complete Mexico with fucking Dragon Ball Z. You don't need to see yourself in these characters physically to understand who they are and to relate to them. Unrelated to games, just like this article, it seems like a barrier to entry is just extremely low. I used to revere the writers at GamePro in the 90s and the early 2000s. Some people are simply better at forming opinions than others. Opinions are not a buffet line. The only game journalist I ever noticed as a good quality is Hiram Cryer. Most news sources across industries have gone to the toilet since paper journalism was a thing. I don't even blame you. I blame whoever hired you. It's quantity over quality for the foreseeable future. Yeah. The collective disdain for gaming, so-called journalists, is well earned. You people have collectively abandoned professionalism, honest integrity, and sincerity. What's left is a band of narcissistic activists and shills who demonstrate a disinterest in the medium and great contempt for gamers. Yeah. This game is not for you. If you're a misogynist, if you're a homophobe, this game is not for you. How many times you fucking heard that? You're cherry picking specific posts that counteract the general narrative and claiming everyone against journalists must think like that. Oh, really? That's actually more than I thought it would be. Wait, imagine how you and your ilk would feel about an article entitled "It's Time to Start Trusting the Police." So I came in with they want you to obey and pay. Trust us, bro. We are here for good reasons. Is that the same person? Yeah. I like how they acknowledge that we didn't trust them at any point. No, I don't think I will. These people are such narcissists. Trust reviewers. No. I trusted Total Bit I trusted Total Biscuit because he was a professional that knew what he was talking about, that sided with the gamers when the publishers tried to screw them over. For that same reason, I do not trust a single line written on the corpo-friendly anti-gamers Kotaku. Yeah. Passionate content creators, good. Video game journalists, bad. I'll treat them with respect and like a human being when they earn it. And yeah, didn't earn it. It's time to shut down these fake video game sites. You can go on YouTube and, again, I've talked about this before. Whatever game you're playing right now, go on YouTube, type in the name of that game. Just a plethora of fucking game reviews for that game. In-depth walkthroughs, whether it be narrated or not narrated. Back in the day, I wasn't reading fucking game journalists articles and stuff like that to find out what to do. We had game FAQs. You go on, they were written by normal people who just played the game, and they all had because not all of them were the same. Some of them like, oh, well, I found that this was the best strategy. And then you go to another one and they say, that I found this was the best strategy. You go in, they got the table of contents, you find where you are in the game. You're like, okay, so let's see, Act 1, Act 2, I'm Act 3, so Act 3, scroll down. Okay, I did that part. Okay, I got that. Okay, there I am. I'm right there. Okay, so I go to, okay. Oh, really? I walked right by that. Okay. You don't need a game subscription or a subscription to a game journalist for that crap. You have YouTube. Game FAQs is still up. Game FAQs is, Kingdom Hearts, general, guides, full game guides, in-depth guides. And these are all just written by normal people who have played the game. In-depth guides, for this is for Kingdom Hearts, enemy list, Coliseum FAQs, game script. Kurtzisa. So the fact that these game journalists think that people still need them, we don't. We really never have needed them. maybe before the internet, when the only source of things was stuff like Nintendo Power and whatever other gaming magazine there was. But thanks to the internet, we have sites like this. We have sites like this where you can go in and at any time, any game, find a walkthrough. Like you have in-depth guides, you know, walkthrough, full walkthrough, all different people, guide and walkthrough, guide, walkthrough. You have all these to choose from. And they also say most recommended because I'm guessing these are the most helpful. So you have 4 most recommended to choose from. You don't have to pay for a subscription to the fucking the site or anything like that. You go on, you find the game, boom, done. You go on YouTube, you type the name of the game. Again, plethora of results. We don't need game journalists anymore, especially when now they're just more of activists than anything else. They tell you more about how wonderful the game is because it has a diverse cast than actual things that are actually good about the game. Having a diverse cast doesn't make the game good. So these people just... I trust gamers, not people pretending. Again, Elden Ring is too hard. My son bought it for me on Father's Day. In 1 week, I was level 145 and beat all the bosses, but Moog, Melania, and Michaela. I'm already about to start the DLC after just 2 weeks. Journalists, you can trust us. We got your back. Eve, judging y'all after the lies Feb to April. Gaming journalists ruined the trust. Reviewers used to be good at games, lighthearted and not uptight. Never. I noticed some of them had biases over certain games, and so I stopped listening to them. I went to YouTube to find reviewers without any bias. There you go. There you go. I miss GamePro. Is GamePro not around anymore? Not in a million years. Trust and respect are earned. Trust, if anything, they're not hated enough. Let me guess. TheGamer? Yes. Yes, it is. I wouldn't trust the Gamer website with a Pong walkthrough. The Gamer staffed by tourist ideologues and imbeciles masquerading as gamers. Uh-huh. Again, these are the people who will say, well, we've heard many criticisms about the game, and this game is, if you're a misogynist, this game isn't for you. The point being, game journalism, it's not needed anymore. It's not. It's not needed. Game FAQs is still around, still a trusted site. YouTube, you have visual walkthroughs from start to finish, some points or multiple videos. You just find where you are and you go from there. Journalism, you don't need it anymore. You just don't. Especially when most journalism now is talking about the shit that doesn't matter. The representation and diversity, and oh my god, a racial stereotype shouldn't play this game. A very, very, very small minority actually give a shit about that. Normal people see video games as what they are. Entertainment. Entertainment. Tell me about the game. If we're gonna spend $70 fucking on this game, we want to know, is it entertaining? Are the controls good? Is the music good and captivating? Is the story good? Are the characters well written and going to give us a reason to care about them? Or are you just going to write an entire article about how this is the most diverse game that's come out this year? And expect, oh, well, the most diverse game? Well, I don't care about the game itself now. I will spend that $70 willingly on a game that has all this apparent diversity. Shut up and take my money. Anyway, 30 minutes, I'm done here. Bye.